Prepare yourself for the terror. The prison of madness, where few enter and none return.
Welcome to Unsung Horrors with Lance and Erica.
Leave all your sanity behind. It can't help you now.
Welcome to another episode of Unsung Horrors, the podcast where we discuss underseen horror movies, specifically those with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica.
And for this episode, Eric and I will be collectively losing our minds talking about 1994's Creatures from the Abyss.
Is it 94 or is it 92? Because on his website it said 92.
It says 92 on his website?
On his website it says
If it's his
that.
website, let's say 92.
All right, we're going to say 92. So anybody else who's covered this movie and said 94, I think we have it right.
I mean, he could have fat fingered the keyboard description or
That's
something.
That's true. There are a lot of typos on there.
I'm going to go from the source directly and say it's
all right.
1992's Creatures from the Abyss, also known as Plankton.
Yes.
Or it might be Plankton, also known as Creatures from the Abyss. Either way, but it's directed by Alvaro Paseri, also known as, we'll call him Al.
Yes.
Al Paseri.
God bless you, Al.
You are a maniac. Good Lord. So as of this recording, Creatures has 773 views on Letterboxd. It's on YouTube. There's a couple of different versions on YouTube, but we'll be talking about Al's site. So I recommend going directly to his site and clicking on his available movies from there, because the version or the link from his site is super clean, like for Creatures from the Abyss.
Yeah.
Wake up, Judy! Are you crazy? The fish is on fire, goddammit! Good, now fondle yourself.
Motherfucking sons of bitches! Die!
Plankton, what's that?
Plankton is the major source of nutrient for fish. It was contaminated by radioactive waste dumped by a ship in this area. It contaminated the bottom of this part of the sea.
Contaminated the plankton?
And as I mentioned in our last episode, I had seen Creatures from the Abyss popping up a lot on Letterboxd. So I feel like it really seems to be sprouting from the underground of underseen horror films. Even people have been tweeting about it too. Like I'm hoping that maybe it'll cross 1,000 views and maybe open up the doors for other of his films, right?
Yeah. So like, when you introduced this, of course I groaned because you're like 90s and I just, ugh. But then I looked at it, I was like, okay, Italian, but I didn't look at the director's name because then I texted you later and I was like, holy shit, this is by the director of the Mummy theme park.
Yeah. And I should have mentioned that, like his other work, because I did see that you had logged that and some other people that I follow had logged it and loved that movie as well.
We'll get into those when we get into his filmography, but yeah,
yeah, I'm hoping more people start seeing it. Can you imagine like an Al Paseri box set of Blu-ray movies?
I want it. We need to do another Blu-ray wishlist episode just so one of us can put that out in the universe.
It would be either the best or the worst gift someone would receive.
We're talking about it being the best gift ever.
Okay. Typically, we provide a quick summary of the film we're talking about, but I'm not sure a summary is necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, his movies are all about an experience.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching incoherent storylines, terrible acting, some crazy dubbing, both impressive and awesome or awful special effects.
It's one of those cases of a guy who was heavily involved in doing special effects and scale models and set design stuff, and then went out and made his own movies, only knowing how to do that. But even really then,
well, his later movies are like throw practical effects out the window. It's all done.
He discovered computers, and he built his website and decided like I'm gonna do.
And his website is
the best thing ever.
It is. It looks like I'm not going to badmouth. I mean, I love everything he's done and worked on, but it looks like you're going to like a local plumber, and his site's like, click here. It's just really bad. I don't know.
It's just it's very simple and very basic. Like, doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles,
but it has everything you need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more. It's got a lot of, in his biography, he gives a whole breakdown of his life for you. And I love him for that.
His contact us, or contact me. Did you click that? It's like a map of where he lives.
Yes.
His home. Oh, I love it. We're going to get into more on his site here in a minute, but I guess I should provide a quick summary. This is real short and simple. A group of horny friends get lost at sea after taking a raft trip and getting caught in a terrible storm. They come across an abandoned yacht and find no crew aboard, but they do find these mutated prehistoric fish creatures who start killing off the friends. There's also a lab on board where scientists were researching these fish monsters who have exceptionally developed genitalia, and they're even hornier than the humans.
Yeah. This horny group of people happen to find the horniest boat ever. Yeah. It's not just the fish that are horny. The boat is horny.
The boat is very horny. Yes. I mean, these humans get out hornied.
Yes.
So that's a term.
We're going with it.
Yeah, and covering the cast and crew, there's only one name in the cast and crew that we should talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, none of the actors have any other credits. Most of the crew members aren't involved in any other films, really. It's all about one man.
Yes.
One person responsible for this movie, this website we'll be talking about, and all his other. He has 5 total movies.
We've watched them all.
We have watched them all.
Yes.
Yes. And don't ask us to rank them. I might ask you.
I'll rank them.
Okay. Let's do this. So the person responsible is Al Paseri, who we've talked about. Before I get into his films, I did find on some sites, I don't know if you did either, that claimed he didn't direct Plankton, Creatures from the Abyss.
How dare they?
I mean, I saw this on multiple sites. They were all older. You know, when I say older, I want to say like 2003 to 2005 or whatever. But I did want to bring this up because it is out there in the world. Some people claim that Massimiliano Cerchi, or Max Cerchi, is said to have directed Creatures and was not given credit. And I couldn't find any validation that this is true. I mean, obviously, Al Paseri has his own site. It's on there. I picked up the Shriek Show DVD. Mm-hmm. There's an interview. I'm throwing up quotes because it's literally like 2.5 minutes long.
Oh, okay.
But there's an interview with the director, and it's Al Paseri. Yeah, there's some sites that say he didn't direct it, but I'm all in for Team Paseri. I think that's just all fictionalized.
Maybe it's one of those like.
Maybe it's the same person. I mean, maybe some Italian people, some Italian directors use pseudonyms.
I mean, maybe that guy was there, and maybe it's a Spielberg, Hooper, Poltergeist situation,
right,
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I get, because I did find that I found this Max Cerchi, and he is a real director, and he's got some equally goofy titled movies. Satan Claus from 1996.
Oh, yeah.
Carnage: The Legend of Quilt Face.
What?
From 2000? Yeah, most of these actually are on Tubi, by the way. So I don't know if we're going to dive into them. I did want to point this out. Per IMDb, Cerchi has a new movie currently in pre-production titled The True Tale of Old Splitfoot versus the Lesbian Warrior Nuns of the Great White North.
That's a title.
That is a title, and they have a poster up as well. So it's
the poster just the title? Because what else is there room for?
I didn't see Old Splitfoot, so I'm not sure what that's about. But there was a lesbian warrior nun, I guess in the hills of Canada or something, like just hanging out. So yeah, he must have some mysterious ties to Paseri in some way, like you said. But I just wanted to bring him up. So back to Al Paseri. Before directing the 5 films, which we're going to get into. He worked in special effects on some recognizable Italian movies. Mm-hmm. He did effects for Enzo Castellari's The Shark Hunter and Light Blast, which stars the great Eric Estrada. He also did special effects for Wild Beasts and a comedy by one of our favorites, Sergio Corbucci's a movie called I Am an ESP from 1985.
Is there an alternate title for that?
Not that I could find.
Okay.
No, I mean, there might be an Italian title, but yeah, no, it's a comedy. So I might.
Oh, that's probably why it's off my radar.
He did effects for an Italian film that I watched, an Italian action film that I watched a few months ago. I loved The Raiders of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Also known as Atlantis Interceptors, 1983. I highly recommend this one. Really fun. It's on Tubi. Might be one of my favorites from his, actually.
Nice.
He was the assistant art director on Tentacles.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that killer goofy octopus Jaws.
I love that movie. I know people are like meh about it, but I like it.
I mean, it has great art direction.
Yeah.
He apparently handled rock and statue sculptures in the 1979 Caligula, Tinto Brass.
Hell yeah.
And he did production design for Alien 2 on Earth.
Yes, one of my favorites.
It was your sequel pick for Horgus Beck, wasn't it? Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it was. It's my favorite spelunking horror movie.
Okay, and I found this fascinating. He's credited as an animator on Cinema Paradiso, 1988.
Really?
Yeah, which has one of the best, most emotional Morricone scores of all time. But I say that about every score I bring up from Morricone.
I mean, you're tearing up a little bit.
I mean, have you listened to that original score? So all of these special effects and makeup work was before he started directing his own films in what's sounds like 1992. And thank God he did, because his movies are a gift to this stupid planet.
Yeah.
Creatures from the Abyss was his first film as a director. Like Eric already said, we watched all his movies, 5 in total, that he directed. And let's just go through them. I mean, you can find most of them streaming. Like I said, you can go to Al Paseri's site, and I think he has 3 direct links from there.
Yeah.
One of them's on Tubi. But yeah, he also has a personal YouTube channel. So that's kind of where everything links to.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Creatures from the Abyss, 1992. Fantastic Games, also known as The Golden Grain, from 1998. The Mummy Theme Park from 2000. This is the one that's on Tubi currently.
That one's on Tubi, right? Yeah.
Everybody should, I don't know, probably just pause this and go watch it. Like, it is a fucking trip.
Okay, so caveat with Mummy Theme Park and
Fantastic Games?
Potentially with Fantastic Games, or the Golden Grain. So John and Sam and Charles and them, they watched it, I think, last year as part of one of Sam's marathons, like a mummy-themed marathon.
Cool.
They all loved it. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to watch this. I watched it by myself. I had fun with it, but I was like, this is a movie that really needs to be watched with at least one other person. So you can do that. So I assume did you watch it by yourself?
I watched all these by myself.
Okay.
Sarah would walk out within the first 2 minutes of these movies.
Fair.
She has bad taste, everybody. Just kidding.
So same with Fantastic Games. John and I watched this together, and I think that helped it a little bit. But at the same time, I feel like I definitely still would have been massively entertained by it, even had I just watched it by myself.
Right. I know. I 100% agree. I think all his movies should be watched with as many people as you can get. Mm-hmm. Having a good time, just... people are playing it safe still and doing and not going out or going watching movies and stuff. Even a Zoom, I've done viewing parties with people on Zoom and stuff. And I think that would be equally as fun. Like you, I watched Creatures from the Abyss first, and I was entertained. All his movies are so entertaining, but I kept thinking I'm missing interaction. I'm missing that, just bouncing off are you getting this? Just talking about it.
I went a little bit backwards because I watched Creatures last because I was like, I know it's going to be the best one. I'm saving it for last. I had already watched Mummy Theme Park before you had picked this one. And then, so I had 3 left before getting to Creatures. So I started with Psycho Vision, which is his last one from 2004 and not my favorite.
Oh, I had that labeled as your favorite of the bunch. Yeah, because before Psychovision in 2004, he also released one more called Flight to Hell.
That one's not linked on his site to watch.
Right.
That one I had to download and send to you.
Right. And Mummy Theme Park isn't either, but
That's
it's on Tubi.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Flight to Hell, I mean, do you can I hear your ranking on these? Do you have them?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. So obviously Creatures is top tier. So that's number one. Number two is going to be Fantastic Games for me.
Okay. Wow.
Close third, though, is Mummy Theme Park. I feel like if I had watched that in a group, it would be really hard for me to pick between that and Fantastic Games. It would probably be tied. Then Flight to Hell, then Psychovision.
Yeah, those last two
they're rough.
I mean, I found it hard. Like usually I like try to star rate and, review as much as I can on Letterboxd. But with these films, I was just having a difficult time because they're both, they're each just terrible and insulting in ways, but like so much fun and entertaining in others.
Right.
Where, especially his Flight to Hell and Psychovision, it becomes almost unbearable watching some of
There's
those.
a lot of, it's very repetitive.
Yes.
In both of them. I think in Psychovision, there was the same exterior shot of the house at least 10 times.
With like the creek going and frogs creaking. Yeah.
All computer generated. No, like not a real house. Let me just...
Garage doors opening and cars driving in. All CGI.
All.
It's amazing. But you're right. It's too much.
It is. But then you get something like Fantastic Games, which is an absolute mind melter. Like I didn't even bother reviewing it on it. I just linked to yours on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, I started trying to write when I started writing the review, I was like, okay, I'm going to start something that kind of makes sense. I want to write something, but I feel like my review does make sense in context to the movie.
It does. If you've seen it, it absolutely makes sense. I read your review and I was like, yeah, that's absolutely it. Why am I going to even bother writing a review when Lance already did? It's a mess. You guys should watch The Golden Grain or Fantastic Games because that one is on YouTube. Yeah, it's a kid's movie, but it's also a Christmas movie. Not riffing because I don't think it's intentional. And I don't even know if this man has ever seen a Neverending Story.
Right.
He has to have, though. I'm
sure he has. Yeah. I think every one of his movies are pulling influences from somewhere.
Yeah.
Like it's got to. And I definitely got Neverending Story and Dark Crystal from there. Because there's kind of puppeteering going on. There's some weird prosthetics and kind of masks going on. Yeah,
like the story of Fantastic Games is it takes place during Christmas, and a little boy is telling his sick sister a story, and then that's like the main story itself. Mm-hmm. And it is a girl who rides a surfboard with her dog she goes to a castle floating in the middle of in the middle of space with these weird Muppet people who need a golden grain. And so she has to go defeat the Dark Lord, who basically is Satan.
Yeah. And he's got like a disco ball.
He's got a disco ball face, like Portrait in Crystal, like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, fucking rad. But then he's got this wall of, think like, what was that freaking game show with the celebrities in the squares? Hollywood Squares.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
But it's like fire and brimstone, and he's got all these like workers in there because there's a game where you get points that don't mean anything. Yeah. It's like Satan versus the girl on the surfboard and her dog, and there's...
I can't believe you're actually trying.
I am trying.
And I'm understanding, but it's... People, you just have to watch this movie.
You have to watch. If you haven't seen Creatures, you have to watch it. If you haven't seen Mummy Theme Park, you have to watch it. If you haven't seen Fantastic Games, you have to watch it.
And Mummy Theme Park might have a little more linear story. I mean,
a little bit more, yeah.
But
that's like chips and robots in a theme park that go mad kind of thing.
So many model train and miniature scaled. It's just, I don't know. It's a delight, but it doesn't, I think it invites a group of people to watch together.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's, and I do like, I know we're not at all like bashing on these movies at all, but
No.
I want everyone to be like really, really understand that like these movies are great and that, you know, they're not well made, but you can tell that he has a lot of passion behind it. Like if there were a 2000s Bleeding Skull book, I feel like Al Paseri would somehow make his way in there.
Oh yeah,
kind of
100.
thing.
Well, Creatures from the Abyss is in the 1990s
Yes.
trash horror
Yeah.
odyssey, Bleeding Skulls book.
Yes.
And Joe Ziemba does an awesome write up on it. He goes straight to the point of this is nonstop fun. Like you know that you're watching something that's kind of just this fun experience, regardless if nothing's happening on screen.
Mm-hmm.
You're involved, you know, and
Yeah.
I totally agree with all of that. But yeah, let's talk about Alvaro Paseri's website.
Yes.
So it's alvaropaseri.it for Italy. Everybody needs to check this out. It showcases his art, including oil paintings, some sculptures he's done, his animatronics.
Did you watch the Jurassic Park one? Well, there's two actually.
Well, there's a dinosaur being born,
and then he puts a little pacifier in its mouth.
I didn't watch that.
You didn't watch that one?
I didn't go through.
That's the best one.
So yeah, when you go to his website on the homepage, it's basically there's no like, you know, sublinks or anything. Everything's displayed on, or no, you do click on oil
and it
painting
links out
and stuff,
to YouTube. Yeah.
and then it lists everything. But yeah, the animatronic stuff is amazing. There's I would say there's at least a dozen videos for the animatronic stuff.
He's got a monkey playing an accordion, which we posted on Instagram.
There's a panda playing a trumpet. These are all animatronic, by the way, and he built these. There's a video of him, Al Paseri, which he calls Trumpets in Concert for My Grandchildren, where he has bike horns strapped all over his body,
Mm-hmm.
right? At least 14 bike horns on his. Why it's called Trumpets in Concert, I don't know. But
Yeah.
and he's reading sheet music and playing songs with these horns, you know, that are under his armpits and his knees. He even has one between his legs,
Oh, yeah,
like
he
a
does.
dick, just honking. And he's putting on a live concert in front of this like small theater or classroom of young children who are just laughing and applauding and losing their minds. And he's playing song after song. Like it's a pretty lengthy video. And everybody's just having the best time ever, including himself. And there's a video of, I'm just going to talk about all these videos because it's amazing.
Yeah.
This one reminded me of Fantastic Games or the Golden Grain. There's a video of a skeleton strapped to a drum kit. Did you see this one?
Oh, I watched all of them.
Okay,
I didn't work today. I was at work, but I was like watching these all day.
Yeah, I mean, same. I watched as much as I could, but I had to step away. Just like his movies, I feel like they have to be, for me personally, they have to be taken and spread out.
That's fair.
And I'll get a little more into that. But there is this one video where it has a skeleton strapped to a drum kit. Like this is like a model skeleton. It's not like, you know, animatronic or anything. And Paseri's there, and he's playing he's playing a pumpkin, blowing music through it. He steps to the next instrument, which is like a woman's shoe. Then he goes to like a Coke can, and he's playing all this in this huge theater with like a live audience.
Yeah.
It blows me away. And it reminded me of like, you know, the skeleton's eyes are kind of lighting up and his jaw is kind of moving.
Yeah.
Very fantastic games. I mean, these are obviously his movies. He does a comedy act in one of these videos.
Oh, the one with a parrot?
The Spicy Parrot
Hell yeah.
is what it was called. And basically he's on stage with an animatronic parrot, and it's all in Italian. The dialogue's in Italian, but from what I could tell, it looks like it's a ventriloquist bit where the parrot is like insulting Paseri on stage and there's like laugh tracks going on. It's all so bizarre.
It's so good though.
But you can, like Erica did, and you know, I did temporarily, you can just lose yourself in all these videos. And they're not all videos, but you know, some of them are, like I said, his sculptures, and he has like oil paintings. He did his own version of The Last Supper. He has portraits, I'm sure, of what look like family members. I mean, he clearly has a sense of humor. He's a man that knows how to have a good time with his art and what he's presenting to everybody, finding fun in everything he does.
His whole website feels like it's a mini biography / resume, because he's literally got everything that he's done on this website. Like there's a certain part of it where it's like, it's the who I am section. And it's like, when I was born, when I was 13, I started to paint. And then I studied music and played the clarinet. Then I studied thermionic valves. I don't know what those are. And then graduated in sculpture at the Art Institute of Rome, then started working as a scenographic sculptor, then special effects, animals, monsters, miniatures, etc. And 2010 to now, working particularly in animatronics for entertainment.
Yeah.
And yes, Al, I was entertained. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, looking at his site makes me like him even more as a person and an artist and a filmmaker. I mean, it's just... Yeah, everybody definitely needs to check his site out. alpaseri.it.
Alvaro Paseri.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
alvaropaseri.it. Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't find his site until like very recently. And that's when, I don't know, I almost like when I saw the contact me link, I was like, I really want to contact him. But yeah.
Send him an email. Tell him we love his stuff.
I think I will. I want to know some of his like paintings and stuff are for sale.
They probably are.
They probably are.
You could own your very own. We could we're coming full circle here because we've talked about wanting paintings from movies. Now
That's
can maybe
what I would
get
contact him about. Like, do you have? Maybe I can find some specific art from his films and be like, did you or have any? Did you design and draw these? And do you have them? I don't know. I just feel like all this, his amazing work in animatronic, which is so different to hear a director involved in.
Yeah.
You know, he obviously came from special effects and, art direction, but I feel like people would be losing their minds on a site or, videos and product like this if it was like David Lynch or something,
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like more people should be talking about Al Paseri. I mean, let's go.
Yes.
So that is the cast and crew. That is all I have. I mean, like I said, I'm sure everybody else is worth checking out. All his movies are the involved filmmakers, the cast, they all make it happen. They make it so entertaining. The dubbing, I mean, we'll get into that. But
all right. And we're going to get into all things wonderful about Creatures from the Abyss right after this promo from our network.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
okay, so at first, when I watched Creatures from the Abyss for the first time, it almost felt like, and I questioned, I asked myself internally, like, is this Alvaro Paseri poking fun at the Italian horror genre? This was released in 1994, and I kept thinking, is this one of those like intentionally bad kind of copycat films that they're made solely for, the planned bad dubbing? And I'm not going to say it's like laughable stop motion because I love it. I love the way it looks.
Yeah.
But my first impression of this movie was, is this real? And I think a lot of people might ask that. Like, is this, I can't tell if it's like parody, of like, it feels like somebody grabbed a hold of all this Italian 80s horror and just like fed it through a computer and threw in some killer animal movies and it spit this out. But stepping back, watching it again, watching his whole filmography, no, I mean, this is sincere work. Like I mentioned that Joe Ziemba said, it's nonstop fun in this movie. I feel like his sole purpose is just to make people smile.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. I may not have a big budget the presented items deserve or actually need in most cases to actually land, but there's no denying that this movie and his others are just all about having a good time.
100%.
So I'm still torn, especially with his later stuff, with how bad the bad is. But I mean, how fun the good is. It makes everything worth it. Like,
yeah, I'm with you. Like, first time watch, I had that same, feeling, even though I had already, this was the last of his that I watched.
Right.
I was still like, no, this is him. This is like what he's doing. But at the same time, it feels like there's a lot of very exaggerated elements to it. The dubbing, the set design, specifically the lower deck. Like it's full like 80s pastel neon. Like I called it like the Lisa Frank level. I mean, it's just
Lisa Frank. Wow, yeah.
I'm throwing it back to anyone who grew
Old
up in the
school
80s.
Trapper Keepers.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, she did all the school supplies.
It's one of those things where all these like little things, and you're just like, what? Like the wall clock. What's her name? She's got a name. Jessica, the whale clock.
Yeah,
On the
she
wall?
did say her name, right?
She says her name at some point. The shower.
Susie, I think, is the shower's name.
Yeah, everything's got a name. I don't know if the dick lamp has a name, but I mean, it turns on when you rub it, and it is literally a dick. It's a phallus that you rub, and the lamp turns on.
Yeah,
I mean,
everything is over the top. Yeah, and I mean, it starts, like you said, with the characters. That one-eyed fish clock. Total Clocky from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yes, thank you.
That's what I kept getting the vibe. And as it was moving along, and then we started getting, it's a smart ship. It's a yacht that has, it has about 3 or 4 voices.
It's got the intercom system at the end that's like warning, like that's.
Yeah, now that we know your names, yeah.
Yeah, and
evacuate.
Then it's got the wall clock, then it's got the shower.
The high sailor. Yeah, 3 different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, so I also got I just kept thinking back of Nell, the ship from Battle Beyond the Stars, 1980, like that. I love that ship. I love the voice. I love how fucking sarcastic she is.
Yeah.
And you get a little of that. Like, I feel like, I mean, we already pointed out that to me, it seems like he's pulling a bunch of influences and stuff from previous films that he's watched.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like the C-3PO comedic character, the relief, but doesn't feel necessary. But like that one-eyed fish clock, it's just like that. Did he like build that clock? And he's like, well, I got to do something with it.
I think I would guess so.
Yeah, that's what I think too. There's also a life-size polar bear doll that's just there in the
There
room.
is, yeah,
which
randomly. I mean, so much is random in this, but that's what's great about it.
It is, yeah, and I do have to point out that, like I said, I did start watching. I watched Creatures from the Abyss first. I enjoyed it the first time. I really enjoyed it much more the second time. But I then jumped into Fantastic Games, right? And then that's where, if you read my review, I'm like lost in like my brain it's fried, like it's really frazzled. And I have to say, like, his movies, they're kind of like great sound bites. Like they work. They work like compelling trailers or pre-show content or something. I won't say all of them work necessarily well as a full feature-length film. Yeah. Because it can easily be too much for most viewers. Like, it's just, I mean, not so much Creatures, but all the other stuff. Like I said, I had to spread it out. I had to take a break. I had to break them up. And I'd probably feel like if I watched them just in consecutive days without throwing in a different movie from a different genre, a different director, or whatever, I'd feel like I was like living in a dream for however long it was going on.
Yeah. That's exactly what I did. I put a few days in between each of the movies. And so I could so I didn't have like the other one carrying over into the next one.
Right.
And I didn't like lose myself in that. I think pacing is definitely an issue in all of the films. And in this one in particular, it takes 40 plus minutes before we get to, I mean, not counting, we had something in the beginning where like all 4 of them are on a boat, and then there's these quick edits to like fish freaking out on the yacht.
Yeah, scenes are crazy.
And so it's assumed that someone there is dying, and they do find a dead body in the water, but you don't actually see the kill. So it's really about 40 minutes until you get to that. So pacing wise, it's like either have like cold open kill so we know like, okay, what to expect, or kill one of the 4 people off sooner, because it's not until a lot later on when shit starts, going wild. Right.
Yeah, that's where I kept especially the first time. Like the first time I watched it, I kept thinking, when will this thing take off? Like I know it will.
Exactly.
And should. So, like, I think it spends way too much time on setup and introducing the character antics. The second time I watched it, I enjoyed them and their dumb personalities a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's fun to watch how dumb they are and stupid and all the stupid things they say, but I want to get to the creatures that are obviously there to murder, you know, and kill. And there's these scenes that keep, I would lean forward as soon as certain scenes would come because I'm like, okay, this is it. This is when it starts. So there's a scene where one of the characters, Dorothy, starts puking up bugs and shit. And I was like, this is when it's going to take off.
Yeah, same. I thought the same thing.
And no.
Nothing. They never even explained why she saw bugs or if they were even there in the first place. Like, it's just a thing that happened to happen.
And then it goes back to just the characters being goofy and the dubbing being funny to listen to. And then we get to another scene shortly after where these 8 words are uttered that I'm like, this is where it's going to fucking kick off. This is what I've been waiting for. And this is a question that one of the characters, Mike, is asking a scientist, a chemist, that they found in a locker, all beat up and gross and completely incoherent, just grunting and moaning the whole movie. He says, "Professor, how long have you been fucking fish?" Okay, and I was like, this is it. Shit's going to happen. Yeah. And his responses are great too.
Yeah, his response was, they were old enough.
They were old enough. And Mike says, I understand these things happen.
And then that's it. And then you're like, but you were just talking about fucking fish.
Exactly.
Let's go with that. Please.
I know. Keep it going. That is the best line in any movie
Cinema
ever.
history.
Exactly. Like that should be on Al Paseri's tombstone.
Yes. 100%.
And I know Nathan from I Hope You Suffer podcast was really zeroing in on that question. Because
that was his review on Letterboxd. Yeah, I saw that.
And he was like excited. I mean, we're not going to talk a lot about it. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about because it does, like, that scene is so funny. The dialogue is so funny. But then it hits this lull again, another valley. And then it gets to another scene where I was like, this has got to be where it kicks up. And it's that MacGruber sex scene. Have you seen MacGruber?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm a MacGruber fan. Okay. I think it's so fucking stupid.
I'm 0% surprised.
Well, there's a sex scene in here for anybody who's watched MacGruber where this is where MacGruber got it from. Okay. There's this guy, Bobby, who's just exaggerating his performance and his climax. But again, once that happens, it's if some other cool stuff happens for a bit, it's just this roller coaster of really captivating moments followed by like longer scenes of just dumb shit, which is fun to watch.
Yeah.
But it's all entertaining. I get that it can't stay turned up to 10 all the time, but I wanted some of those 10 moments to just last longer and go further.
It's one of those movies where, like, if you're watching it, you make a list of all of the things that befuddle you and say, here's all these odd things that are in it. And that makes up 30% of the movie. And the rest of it is kind of like, weird dialogue and semi-character development sort of thing. And so like, and you've got when Billy finds like what he thinks is cocaine and it turns out it's plankton or something and he snorts it. And that's how he becomes a weird, horny fish fuck monster.
Right.
You explain that to someone and they're like, wow, but you're like, yeah, but it doesn't really play out in a linear way in this film. No,
not at all. Like the plot is, I don't know, like I said, like the summary there's a plot summary, but it's all about the experience with any of his movies. Like you can't really, you are just watching the dumb characters, which I don't know, the characters. We talked about how we like stupid, dumb characters, like in Mad Men, the No Rules November pick. And these guys are right there with them. I mean, Mike, who's kind of the subdued and calm, he's like the lead. His dubbing is so calm, his voice is so monotone, and he has the answers to like everybody's questions. He knows about fish cells and he knows hibernation cells. Why? Because
he took biology for...
I took biology in school.
Yeah.
Just that generic of an answer. And then there's Dummy. There's Bobby the dummy. Yes. The dumb one. He wants nothing to do but party, smelling and eating that random powder that he finds in a lab. He's attractive, but just fucking gross in his habits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've all had friends like this, right? I had a roommate like this.
Ew, I'm sorry.
If you're listening, I'm not going to say, should I say his name?
Do you still talk to him?
Yeah, talk. Well, no, not really. Okay. But if you're listening, Darren, this is like, I loved living with you. It was nonstop fun. But, you were the guy that's like Bobby, horny all the time. You just want to fucking party, jokingly say orgy time, and eating like it's your last fucking meal. That scene where he's eating with food all over his face. My friend Darren would get chicken wings and he would, suck the bones dry and he would crack the bones in half and suck the marrow out. Like just
Jesus fuck
with stuff all over his face. So whenever I watched Bobby or characters like that, it makes me smile because I know him.
I can't even. That's like I can't watch people eat chicken wings. Like that's one of my like. It's right after like my fear of bugs with and well those mainly, but like really any bug with an erratic flying pattern gets under my skin.
Okay.
Right after that is watching people eat chicken wings.
Have you ever seen anybody crack open a bone and suck the marrow?
No, but it's in my head now, and I'm gonna have fucking nightmares tonight. Thank you.
I mean, the sound is worse than the visual.
I can't even.
Terrible.
Jesus.
But yeah, these characters are dumb. They're great. The dubbing has to be talked about because
it's next level.
Bobby, shut the door. I don't want it out of here. Trying to convince me that one of those fish that belongs in a museum bit Margaret? Huh? Who's that?
Fuck! The fish, you idiot! Here it is. After every discovery, the professor put them into the memory bank.
It's horrendous.
You can just one reason to watch this movie, I would say, is the dubbing.
Yeah.
Like that would be like, why should I watch this movie? Because the dubbing is fucking amazing.
There's certain movies where it actually adds to the experience. Like I think Kung Fu movies are one for sure.
Yeah.
But like
what was the Bleeding Skull one that we had watched?
Oh God.
The Butcher?
I think the Butcher was like the one that was all in German. I didn't watch it. I can't remember, but was it Zombie Extreme Pestilence?
Yeah, I think that is it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is one of those movies where like the dubbing itself almost becomes a character or a story element because it adds so much to it. It's great.
Yeah, it's you got that right.
There's one line and the thing too, when it's being dubbed and they're delivering lines about like fucking fish, it makes I was like, rewind that. I have to hear that again.
Yes.
Not just in like what they said, but how it's said, how it's delivered. Like there's another line in there too, where they're explaining what happened to the fish and that they became sexually aggressive when they're exposed to inquisitive minds. What?
Yeah. And that's usually it's Mike, like was that when he's like reading the journal and shit? Yeah. I mean, there are so many great lines. I started typing some out, but it's impossible.
I know. I wrote 2 and I was like, I can't write anymore. There's too many. Everyone has to experience it for themselves.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and mess up and spoil some of them.
Okay.
But like when they first find the chemist, the professor that they call him, the girl's like, he must have peed his pants. And another's like, she's right. God, it's nauseating. And Bobby's in the background yelling, someone changes diapers. Like it's shit like that where, I don't know, like a lot of these scenes too, they're wording the actual dialogue that's being dubbed, the dub dialogue. So I don't know if it's written after the fact. Some scenes clearly are, but it's unbelievable how these scenes are kind of tense and serious, but you have this going on. And like you said, it's it's what makes the movie. It's like you're watching 2 different movies kind of in that regard.
It's like, it's one of those things where, a lot of Italian movies have this sort of like, especially when they're movies that are set in America or they're about Americans or whatever, when you get dialogue like that, it's like dialogue that was written by aliens. Like they've seen a few American movies or maybe some like McDonald's commercials or some shit like that. And that's the basis for them. Like, oh, this is how people communicate.
Yeah,
like
this is the terminology and the emotion they use.
Yeah. And it's like, someone changes diaper and it's like, who says that? Like, I mean, I guess like 12-year-olds, but it's like
100%.
There's a disconnect between like, okay, the people that are in this film are late teens, early 20s. You have dialogue that is a mix of like all over the place.
Yeah. And that's, I think, after like going to Al Paseri's site, and like the Shriek Show does have this interview, which is the only thing I got from it was how excited he is and how childlike he is.
Yeah.
He's just so playful. And that kind of is like the dialogue. Like I had said that you feed all this stuff into a computer and it spits out this stupid stuff. I think a computer would be a little more smart. I feel like what they say is that what happens is they get a group of, let's say, 5-year-olds in a classroom, and they say, okay, guys, we're on a boat. What happens next?
Yeah.
And they start just throwing out everything, and they're filming as they're getting these suggestions from these kids. Like, okay, what's he say there? Boom, change the diaper. Okay, that's great.
That's going in. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you have scenes about like with what's the shower's name? Susie, I think it was. Susie's stuff. Like that's a whole other, like the 5-year-olds weren't there for that, but still nobody talks like that.
Very
like,
sexual.
Weirdest thing.
One of them was funny though. One of the characters, Margaret, goes into the bathroom and that Susie voice says, "Hello, constipated? Push the vacuum button." I'm like, that is genius. Okay.
Like, I wish toilets worked like that, but
that'd be, yeah. But yeah, I do like how, I mean, even with the dialogue, I like how the dialogue just moves this thing along. It chugs along with little explanation because of the character dialogue. Specifically with Mike, who, like I said earlier, he seems to have the answers to everything. So it's like, if you're stalling a little bit in the movie, just ask him a question. So there was a scene where his character hits a lever and a dead man pops up on the screen. Margaret, I think, hits this lever. And she's like, "What's this?" And Mike just stands up, looks at it, and he calmly says in his Mike dub voice, like, "I get it now. This is a control console for the distant telecamera. They're at the bottom of the sea, attached by cables to a crane. The secret of the ship is tied to these strange fish." And you're like, okay, thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
You just set up the next 10 minutes, and I understand now. It's basically, he's there to create the plot, and the dude's a genius, in everything he says. Yeah, I mean, there's so many scenes to pick from. Like, do you have certain favorite scenes from this, or is it just the whole film?
I mean, it is hard to pick. I think a lot of it is, well, when we finally get the
Bobby,
the Billy,
Bobby.
Fuck, I wrote Billy. Bobby. Oops. When we finally get the Bobby monster, and it's like, it's hard to describe, but you see it in stop motion. You don't get to see it very much, but he's got these like waving tentacles that are kind of like those. What are those things that are outside of like car lots?
Those noodle
guy things. It's kind of like those. It looks like that, but with like tentacles. And I mean, this sounds terrible, but honestly, like my favorite scene is like when he turns into the fish monster and is technically raping the one girl.
Yeah.
Because she at first is like, "No, get off me." But then she's into it. But then like when he leaves, she wakes up and she doesn't remember it. So when he turns into the fish,
it's practical effects.
That's practical effects, and it's fucking great.
He's like barfing out, kind of like in the Company of Wolves poster where like the snout's coming out of the mouth.
Yeah.
He's this prehistoric fish is coming out of him, and spikes are popping out of the back of his head.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's fucking bumping and grinding like hard.
I mean, tentacles shoot out of him and like pull the girl's legs apart and stuff. It's brutal.
Yeah,
but I can understand why that's your favorite scene.
It is. Well, that and like there's another scene later. This is one that I was a little disappointed that it didn't go anywhere because I was getting mad possession vibes of when she starts birthing caviar.
Yeah, she has fish egg. Yeah. Just oozing out of her.
And I was like, oh, sick. They're going to like turn into something. But no, she's just basically like birthing fish eggs.
Yeah. So this is the character Dorothy who Bobby has sex with and impregnates her.
Yes.
And yeah,
20 minutes later, she's birthing caviar.
Yeah, and she's like yelling, my babies,
Yeah.
or, mommy loves you and shit like that. It gets pretty disturbing. Yeah, the special effects in this movie are great. Like we said, Paseri does come from that background.
I do also love when the smaller ones, they're very like Piranha
The fish,
2.
yeah.
They're like flying around and like grabbing onto people and shit. And I was like, oh my God, it's like Piranha 2, which is funny because Ovidio Asinitis did that film.
Oh, yeah.
Or James Cameron, whatever. We're not going to get into another who directed it thing. And he's worked with him. So I wonder if that's I'm wondering if there's like a connection there with the flying fish. Like, or he's pulling all of his inspiration. He saw Possession. He saw The Thing. He saw like
Piranha.
He saw Piranha. And
he worked on Tentacle.
Yeah. So like, you can pick out all of these like elements of things like that, and not even just like the caviar birthing part of Possession, but like, spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen Possession, but like the fucking squid monster fucking in that as well.
Yeah,
kind of plays into it. So it's like, I feel like he's seen a lot of movies and is just like, I like all these movies and I would like to put all these things in this movie somehow.
Right. Yeah. And one of my favorite scenes is Mike destroying the lab with the dinosaur bone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get a good 2 minutes of this, people.
Oh, at least.
It's slow motion. He's fucking yelling. And this is a quote. Die, you motherfucking sons of bitches. Ah! Like, he's grunting and very distraught. And he picks up a dinosaur bone, or maybe it's some fish bone. I don't know. And he's just destroying these tanks of, the specimen everywhere. And that scene, it goes on for far too long, but it's not long enough at the same time.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, he's still going. And then you're like, oh, wait, keep going, Mike. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then speaking of like the special effects that we were talking about, in the very beginning, one of my favorite, I guess there are multiple scenes, but I do love like that first 10 minutes, the opening of them getting on their raft and going out, to sea, and then finding the dead body, the storm hitting. And then that's when they do those jerky, like, and it's like a stupid, I don't know, fish with like this whip tongue that just randomly is shown. Yeah. And then there's that boss villain, the stop motion guy at the end, which I love stop motion in any movie. I think it works every time, no matter the budget.
Yeah.
And then there's Dorothy's transformation, which I think is the best in the film, which is, or I don't know if it was Dorothy. It's the girl that has the, she gets out of bed and everything pops out of her back and the crab arms are like pulling her head.
Yeah. Not Dorothy though. Dorothy's the blonde who.
Yeah. And it's not Margaret. I think the other one's name was Julie.
I couldn't keep their names.
Yeah. There are 3 girls and 2 guys.
Yeah.
But so some of the practical effects and the creature design, it reminded me of the cover from Ween's, the Mollusk album.
Okay. Not familiar. I'll look it up though.
Okay, so yeah, the artwork, it was done by Storm Thorgerson, who did all the cover art and the artwork for like Pink Floyd's iconic albums, like Wish You Were Here. And dude's like a master graphic designer.
It's called the Mollusk?
The Mollusk, yeah. Okay. But it has like this gnarly sea creature that Thorgerson designed and he drew. He did this concept drawing, and it's like
oh yeah, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, have you seen that before? That cover?
No, not told me just now.
It's like disgusting, but like beautiful. Yeah. It has like these crab arms and fish heads and tentacles protruding from like this weird kind of sea ray body. That reminded me a lot of the creature effects in this. There's a lot of that. Even the Shriek Show DVD that I had picked up, it was released in 2001. It has some cool cover art by someone named Alison Brock, and it looks kind of like the Mollusk cover.
Nice.
It's really cool. Also, that album's a masterpiece. If anybody wants to listen to it, do it.
Okay.
And I have to respect, this is another special effect, or I guess it's set design, the aluminum foil on the walls to make the boat have a sleek look. And then that mirrored fish on the bottom of the swank, like,
I mean, just like the miniatures too. Anytime I see miniatures, I'm just like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, 100%.
All of that's great.
So Eric, I mean, I think you do, but Would you recommend this to friends and family and loved ones?
I would recommend this not to family. This is one of the horniest movies I've ever seen, and I love it for that. But I would definitely recommend it. I would say with any Al Paseri movie, watch it with at least one other person if you can.
I agree with that. I think it's all about having a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it delivers. Like I said, it's hard for me to rank, but I would say Creatures is on top.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is the funnest, especially of all his movies for horror fans. I mean, this is the most horror that he does.
Yeah.
There's a lot of grunting going on, even from the professor. Like, he just grunts and moans his way through this movie.
Oh yeah. So much grunting, so much horny, so much good.
So much good. Well, I mean, it's tough to top the good, but what would you pair up with a movie like this?
I struggled actually with this. There's quite a few I was thinking of, but I was like, this movie is so fun. Like, ultimately, I need to have another fun movie with it. I was thinking about Piranha 2 at one point.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Ghost Galleon at one point.
Okay. Yeah.
The third in the Blind Dead series. Another one I thought about was Sea Fever from Fantastic Fest.
That's a good one.
But I was like, yeah, it's not fun enough, though. Like, Piranha 2, I think, is fun. But the other two, not so much. So I'm going to go with a movie about rapey sea creatures. Humanoids from the Deep would be my pick.
That's perfect.
For a double feature, yeah. What about you?
So I kind of struggled too, and I kind of the same thinking. We kind of been on the same page with even like when we do guest spots and stuff.
I know. We didn't get out of each other's heads.
Yeah, but it's different. But I was thinking like The Rift from 1990,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like is a good setup, like a prequel to Creatures from the Abyss. It's a cool like underwater submarine creature feature. A bit slow, has Ray Wise in it, who acts circles like around everybody.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a little slow. Again, I think this deserves a fun pairing.
Yeah.
And that one definitely isn't fun. Another movie that isn't very fun, but I was thinking of was Island of the Fisherman, Sergio Martino.
I like that one.
But ultimately I landed on some regional horror.
Ooh.
Sting of Death.
Oh.
From 1966.
Hell yeah.
Directed by William Gruffet. That's how you say it, right?
Yeah, I think Gruffet or Gruffet. I'm not
Gruffet,
sure.
Yeah. So this one also takes place in Florida.
Yes.
Like Creatures, like all of Gruffet's movie. But it has a lot of biologists in it. There's a lot of experiments going on. They're trying to create giant Portuguese man-o-wars, which are pretty much jellyfish. And there's a hidden lab in the Everglades with all these specimens and fish tanks, very similar to Creatures. There are all these young kids who are just there in Florida to have a good time, party on the water. But the creature isn't having any of it and begins killing them off.
Yeah.
The creature's also horny. I'm going to throw that out there. It's very low budget regional horror. I think it's a blast. It's a quick 80 minutes. It's on Tubi, but Arrow also released that huge collection, the Blu-ray collection.
Yes.
And this is completely separate, but like the catchy theme from Smile Before Death.
Mm-hmm.
I can always do that.
Everyone just got that out of their head and you put it right back in there.
Okay, well, there in Sting of Death, there's a Neil Sedaka movie. He does a song. There's a Neil Sedaka song called "Do the Jellyfish." I don't know if you remember this.
I remember the song, and please don't do it.
Okay,
don't get it back in my head.
Super catchy. Super annoying, played too many times for far too long, but I love it when it happens.
Yes.
I was actually going to pick that song to close this episode, but I didn't. No,
Thank you.
It's a different song. But yeah, Sting of Death. I would watch Sting of Death before Creatures because Sting of Death is daytime horror, and I feel like Creatures is more late evening. So just kind of do it like in order.
I love the quote unquote jellyfish or man of war in Sting of Death. They're the best.
100%.
I would order wise, I think I go Humanoids first.
Humanoids is so good.
It is.
So good. That ending. Oof. Chef's kiss.
Indeed.
Okay, so that's it for Creatures from the Abyss. What are we going to be talking about for the next episode, Erica?
All right, next episode. My birthday is next month.
Yes.
Just for everyone who wants to send me whatever you want to send me. Not dick pics. Thanks.
Those are sent to me. Just kidding, go ahead.
But I am giving myself the gift of covering a movie that has one of the greatest child deaths of all time.
You deserve this.
I do. Thank you.
So do I.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you do too. You're gonna be thanking me. So we are gonna be covering 1978's Damned in Venice, directed by Ugo Liberatori, who's actually one of the writers for Mill of the Stone Women, which we covered towards the beginning of when we started the show.
Yeah, very early.
And it's got a score by Pino Donaggio.
Nice.
Make sure you're not confusing this with Visconti's Death in Venice from 1971, folks. Very, very different movie. So Damned in Venice 1978 is a bit of a ripoff of both The Omen and Rosemary's Baby, but with that sweet, sweet Italian seasoning that we love. So it's about a blind boy, Mark, and his sister Christine, and they move into an old hotel to work to restore it in order to make a living. But soon Mark starts having visions of the coming of the Antichrist. I'm excited. All right. So
yeah, that sounds great.
Currently has 311 views on Letterboxd. It is on YouTube. Just make sure you hit that closed captioning button, and it has English subs on
Nice.
it. So yeah, Damned in Venice for my birthday next month.
Yay.
More Italian. I pick a lot of Italian, but I mean, that's the most fertile ground for unsung horrors, I feel like.
It is. Yeah. I think we're made for it.
Okay.
It's made for us.
Yeah. But I mean, I need to work on that. I need to look at my plan for the year. Anyway. All right. If you have not already, please visit Alvaro Paseri's website and check out all of his wonderful stuff. I'll put a link to it in show notes.
Yeah.
If you're not following us, you can do that on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Slasher, all at Unsung Horrors. You can follow me on Letterboxd, Twitter, and Instagram at Hex Massacre.
And you can find me on Letterboxd, Twitter, and Instagram at L Shaibi.
If you have not already, and if you enjoy the show, you can also leave us a rating on either iTunes or Spotify. We always appreciate those.
Yeah, it's Erica's birthday coming up, guys. Let's
Oh, yes, thank you.
Let's treat this as some birthday gifts.
Yeah.
Make her happy.
And if you're not listening on either of those platforms, I understand some people have an aversion to Spotify. I get it. I understand some people aren't on Apple or iTunes. You can leave us comments on any of the platforms where we post: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, about, if you really liked an episode. Lance got a really nice comment from a listener on
Letterboxd.
On Letterboxd.
Yeah. It was MMA. It was Jamal Fanaka's MMA.
Yeah,
which
so it
totally made my day.
Yeah, it was great. It wasn't even a movie that we've officially covered. We've just talked about on the show. So stuff like that really makes us happy. We know, that other people are liking the stuff or discovering stuff that we're sharing with you guys. So appreciate the comments, reviews, whatever you can throw our way. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that was from Adam. So Adam, that really kind of made my day when you said that. Or, me continuously bringing up Jamal Fanaka on multiple episodes. I don't know what episode it was, maybe with multiple R's, but thanks again for that. We love comments.
Yes.
Keep sending them our way. Send a lot on Erica's birthday, straight to her.
Please, no. God, no.
Yes. Let's do it, guys. Hashtag comment Erica's birthday.
I'm cutting that out. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you back next month.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, little boy, what you got there? Did you find it in the sandy ground? Does it emulate the ocean sound? Yes, I found it on the ground, emulating the ocean sound. Bring forth the mollusk, cast unto me. Let's be forever, live forever, be free. Wandering eye. Yes, it speaks of the Trinity, casting light at the sun with its wandering
Hey, it's Death by Video.
I'm Phil.
I'm Kit.
And I'm Graham saying welcome to our podcast full of merry movie mayhem.
Ever wonder what an Irish kung fu movie would look like?
It's called Fatal Deviation, and we covered it.
Ever wonder what a movie about 1,000 cats would look like?
It's called Night of 1,000 Cats, and we covered it.
And it stars Hugo Stiglitz. Listen to Death by Video to hear us discuss and dissect some of the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest films ever made. All this and more on Death by Video! Woo!